Welcome to the gritty, unpredictable world of the Wild West, where the horizon stretches far and wide, and the dust of the frontier clings to every surface. Picture this. You are a woman in the late 1800s, living on the edge of society's acceptance, a time when women were bound by social norms that offered few paths to independence or financial freedom. But here, in the small, rough and tumble town of the American frontier, you've carved out a life for yourself that many wouldn't dare to imagine. You wake up to the sounds of life stirring around you, the clatter of boots on wooden floors, the familiar hum of conversation drifting through thin walls, the sharp scent of whiskey and tobacco still lingering from the previous night. You've spent the last few years building your business, managing a brothel in a world where such women are often seen as nothing more than the sum of their transactions. But you, Madam Catherine, have done more than just survive, you've thrived. You are about to step into the shoes of a Wild West madam. As you move through the creaky floorboards of your saloon, the weight of your position is always with you. Your world is one of grit, determination, and necessity. But it's also a world filled with sharp minds, quick wits, and a deep understanding of human nature. You are a businesswoman, a mother figure to your girls, a protector, and a survivor. You know that the stakes are always high and that in this volatile, unpredictable world, your success could vanish in a heartbeat, whether it's a moral crusade, a jealous rival, or the fragile balance of power between you and the men who hold the keys to your livelihood. But that doesn't stop you. You wake up early, well before the saloon opens, and begin your day as you always do. There's work to be done. A new girl will arrive today, someone who might help boost business, but who could also be a liability. You'll have to keep your eye on her, see if she can handle the life she's chosen, and teach her the ropes of surviving in your establishment. As the madam, you don't just run the business, you manage the personalities, resolve conflicts, and, at times, protect your girls from the men who visit, looking for more than just a drink and company. You've seen it all before. The violent confrontations, the broken dreams, the fleeting romances, and the constant tension that comes with living in a place where morality is a matter of perspective. As you pull on your boots and get ready for the day ahead, the weight of the previous night's business still lingers. The saloon, a lively center of entertainment by night, feels different in the morning light. The girls are still asleep, recovering from the long hours they worked to please their customers. You're no stranger to late nights, and you know that the work you do is exhausting physically, mentally, and emotionally. The world you've built, this saloon, these girls, the precarious network of trust and business that holds it all together, is a delicate thing. A wrong move, a sudden betrayal, a poorly timed confrontation could bring everything crashing down. You've seen other madams fall from grace, some because they let their guard down, others because they didn't read the signs of danger soon enough. You can't afford that luxury. You've learned over the years that survival is a constant game of balance, balancing the demands of the customers, the needs of your girls, and the ever-present threat of violence, disease, or scandal. In the midst of all this, you've built something powerful. You've earned the respect of your peers, other madams in town, some of whom started with nothing but a dream and the willingness to offer themselves for sale. You've found ways to ensure your girls are protected, that they're given some semblance of care and dignity in a job that often offers neither. You've invested your earnings, saved carefully, and thought strategically about your future. You've built a modest fortune, bought property, and secured your place in the town's economy, all while remaining in the shadows, an invisible force behind the scenes of the community. The town needs you, but they will never admit it. In their eyes, you and your business are nothing but a necessary evil. But don't be mistaken. This is not a life of luxury or ease. You are constantly reminded that, despite all your success, you are still walking a fine line. The law is never far behind, and the town's morals are always shifting, depending on who's in charge and who's holding the purse strings. One scandal, one bad decision, one accusation could bring it all down. Yet, here you are, holding it all together, a woman who has found a way to make her own living, on her own terms, in a world that tried to shut her out at every turn. Today, you'll deal with more than just the business of running the saloon. You'll be managing the arrival of a new girl, a newcomer to the world you've made for yourself. You'll navigate the delicate balance of dealing with customers who expect a certain level of service, but who must never be allowed to overstep their bounds. You'll ensure that the money flows smoothly and that the girls are kept healthy and happy, because a happy worker is a profitable one. You'll keep your ledger, check your accounts, and make sure that every penny earned is accounted for. You've learned that business is business, no matter the product you're selling. Yet there are also moments of vulnerability, moments when the fear of losing it all threatens to creep in. What if one of the girls gets sick? What if there's trouble with a customer that turns violent? What if the law starts paying attention? What if the moral climate shifts and the townspeople decide they've had enough of you and your business? These fears are always there, lurking in the back of your mind, but you've learned to keep them in check. After all, the world you live in doesn't allow for fear to control your actions. You've faced danger and hardship head-on, and you've come out the other side stronger for it. As you head downstairs to prepare for the day, you can hear the sounds of life starting to stir around you. The saloon is beginning to wake up, and the first customers are starting to filter in. There's no time to waste. Today, like every day, will be filled with challenges and rewards, dangers and triumphs, but you've learned how to navigate them all. So, come along. Step into my world and see what it's like to be a madam in the Wild West. Witness the struggles, the triumphs, the intricate dance of survival and business that defines my life. This isn't a story about high society or glamorous women. It's the story of real women, women like me, who used the only resources we had to survive, to build something, and to carve out a space where we could finally be free. This is my story, and it's a story that hasn't been told enough. It's a story of resilience, of courage, and of navigating a world that has often been unforgiving to women like me. In a time when a woman's worth was defined by her relationships with men, we built our own empires, and we did it on our own terms. As the madam, I will take you through a day in my life, from the early morning hours, when I prepare for the business ahead, to the late nights, when I manage the last customers and count the day's earnings. You'll see the complexities of the business, the strategies behind keeping the peace, the subtle manipulations, and the carefully crafted persona I present to the world. But you'll also see the quiet moments of compassion and camaraderie that are just as crucial to running a successful establishment. We are more than just women selling ourselves for money. We are businesswomen, protectors, caregivers, and warriors. Are you ready to step into my shoes? To walk through a day in the life of a Wild West madam? To see what it took to survive in a time and place where survival itself was a battle? Come, and let me show you what it means to be a woman in charge on the frontier. As you make your way downstairs, you notice the smell of stale whiskey from the night before lingering in the air. It's an ever-present companion in your saloon, a reminder of the long hours that blend into each other like the fading memories of last night's customers. You stop by the bar, glancing at the disheveled bottles still half filled with remnants of yesterday's chaos. The dim light from the morning sun barely filters through the dusty curtains, casting a pale glow across the worn furniture. You take a moment to observe the room. the place that has been both your sanctuary and your battleground. Behind the bar, Thomas is already at work, cleaning and setting up for the day. Thomas, a rugged man with a scar above his eyebrow, has been your loyal bartender and confidant for as long as you can remember. He's one of the few people you trust, without question. His loyalty has been earned through years of working together, through countless quiet conversations and shared secrets. His silence speaks volumes, and you know that he'll never betray you. "You've got the bar ready for tonight?" you ask, watching him move efficiently as he wipes down the counter. "Got the whiskey topped off. We'll be good for the evening crowd," Thomas replies, his gruff voice steady as he works. You nod and move toward the back, where the kitchen is. Lucy, the cook and one of your longest-serving girls, is already at work, stirring a pot on the stove. She's dressed simply, in a faded apron and a worn blouse, but her presence commands attention. Lucy is sharp, practical, and as loyal as they come. In this business, loyalty is everything. "Morning, Lucy." You greet her, leaning against the doorframe. She looks up and smiles tiredly, wiping her hands on her apron. "Good morning, Miss Catherine. The girls will be up soon. I've got oatmeal cooking for them." "Good. Make sure to keep things light today. They'll need their energy for the night," you respond, your voice firm but caring. Running a brothel isn't just about managing finances. It's about managing people. It's about understanding their needs, their moods, and their frailties. It's about making them feel cared for, even when the world outside offers them little more than scorn. You check the clock. It's early, but you know that your girls will start to stir soon. They always do. By now, they're used to the rhythms of life here. They know that there's always something to do, always someone to please, always a customer who demands their attention. Some of them are tired, some of them are resigned, and some of them are hopeful. But you've learned not to get too attached to the hopes of your girls. Hope is a fleeting thing in this business, a currency that doesn't always translate into success. The door creaks open, and the first girl of the day steps in. It's Mary, one of your younger girls. She's a pretty thing, though she's starting to show signs of the life she's leading. Her face is still fresh, but her eyes have the hardened look of someone who's learned to navigate a world that doesn't always play fair. She carries herself with the grace of someone who's been taught to hold herself in high regard. But there's something about the way she holds her shoulders that suggests she's been carrying more than her share of burdens. "Morning, Mary," you say, standing up straight as she approaches. "Morning, madam," she replies softly, her eyes glancing briefly toward the kitchen before she sits down at the small table you keep near the bar. "Lucy, is there any coffee?" Lucy nods and pours a cup of steaming coffee for her, placing it in front of her without a word. You watch them interact. There's a quiet understanding between the two women, a bond forged in the trenches of this rough life. The other girls will be up soon, but for now, it's just the three of you, navigating the early hours of the day. You glance at the ledger on the bar and flip it open. The numbers are good for the last month. Business is steady, thanks to the mining operation up north, which has brought a steady influx of miners into town. They drink heavily, gamble eagerly, and indulge their appetites for pleasure without hesitation. As much as the town's moral compass may condemn your business, they cannot escape the fact that you serve a need they themselves satisfy in the darkness of your establishment. "Have you seen the new girl yet?" you ask, your voice calm but probing. Mary shakes her head. "Not yet. She's supposed to be coming in today, right?" You nod. "She'll be here this afternoon. I want you to take her under your wing. Show her how things work here. She's new to the trade, so be gentle with her. But remember, we run a business, not a charity." Mary's face tightens slightly at your words, but she nods. "Understood, madam." The reality of the life they lead is never lost on them. Mary knows what's expected, And she knows that survival in this world isn't about kindness. It's about making the best of a situation that offers few options. As the morning progresses, the girls begin to filter into the saloon, each with their own routine. There's Rose, the fiery-tempered one who always seems ready to snap at the smallest slight. She's new to the business but has already shown signs of learning the game. Then there's Beth and Lucy, who are older and more experienced. They're the steadying influence on the others, the ones who keep things running smoothly when the chaos of the saloon threatens to overwhelm. You take a moment to observe them, watching as they settle into their roles. The work isn't easy, but they've learned to make it look effortless. They dress with purpose, their clothes carefully chosen to attract attention without giving too much away. They know how to speak with the men who come through the door, how to be charming without being too eager. They know when to laugh, when to listen, and when to pull back. By now, you're used to the rhythm of it all, the early mornings of preparation, the long afternoons spent managing the ebb and flow of business, and the hectic nights when the saloon is packed with customers, eager for a drink, a dance, or a more intimate transaction. The life of a madam is not an easy one, but it is a necessary one. Without women like you, this town would fall apart. Without you, the miners, cowboys, and travelers would have nowhere to go to unwind, nowhere to satisfy their cravings. And yet, despite your importance, you remain invisible. To the townspeople, you are a ghost, a shadow in the background of the community. They cross the street when they see you, avoid acknowledging your existence, and pretend that you and your girls don't matter. But you know better. You know that you are the backbone of this town, the secret engine that keeps it running. As the day progresses, you continue your work, checking on the girls, making sure the rooms are stocked with the supplies they need, and reviewing the accounts. You know that every penny counts. One misstep, one dishonest customer, one careless mistake, and the whole business could collapse. You've seen it happen to others, madams, who became too lax, too trusting, or too indulgent. It's a dangerous game, but you've learned how to play it. You keep your distance, maintain your composure, and never let them see how much you care. The afternoon drags on, the saloon gradually filling with the sounds of life. You're busy, but you've learned to be efficient. There's always something to do, always a decision to make, but you've grown accustomed to the constant pressure. You've learned to manage it, to juggle the many demands of the business, without letting it overwhelm you. When the stagecoach finally arrives, you stand by the window, watching as the new girl steps off the wagon, looking nervous and unsure of herself. She's young, no older than 18 or 19, with wide eyes and a hesitant gait. She's carrying a small carpet bag, the only possession she seems to own. You can see the fear in her eyes, but you also see the determination. She's come here for a reason, and you can already tell that she's not like the others. You give her a moment to gather herself, then walk over to greet her. "Welcome to the Silver Star," you say, your voice warm but firm. "I'm Catherine, the madam here. You must be Emily." She nods, her eyes flicking nervously to the ground. "Yes, ma'am. Emily Mitchell." "Well, Emily," you say, extending a hand, "let's get you settled in. There's much to learn, but we'll take it one step at a time." You take her upstairs to one of the vacant rooms, and as you show her where she'll be staying, you notice the way her hands tremble slightly. It's not uncommon for newcomers to feel nervous. They all come with hopes and dreams, but those dreams are often crushed quickly under the weight of reality. You've seen it happen before. But you're not in the business of offering false reassurances. You know that the truth is harsh, and the sooner she understands that, the better. "We'll start you off slow," you tell her, watching her eyes closely. You'll help with the cleaning and serving drinks. As you get comfortable, we'll talk about the rest." She nods, but you can see the uncertainty in her gaze. It's a look you know well, the uncertainty of a woman who's seen no other way to survive. "You'll do fine," you add softly. "But remember, in this business, there's no room for hesitation. You'll need to be strong. Don't let anyone take advantage of you." Embed, as you leave her to settle in, you feel a pang of sympathy for her. She's just beginning her journey into a life that will be full of challenges, and the road ahead won't be easy. But it's the same road that you've walked, and the same road that countless other women have walked before her. In the Wild West, survival is the ultimate test, and only the strong make it through. The evening brings a new set of challenges. As the saloon fills with customers, you keep a watchful eye on everything. You greet the regulars, exchange pleasantries with the new faces, and ensure that the girls are moving through the room, engaging with customers, and bringing in the money. You've learned that the key to success isn't just about providing pleasure. It's about managing expectations. It's about creating an atmosphere where everyone knows their place, and everyone gets what they need, whether it's a drink, a dance, or something more. And as the night drags on, you know that you've done it again. Another day in the Wild West, another day of survival, another night of success. Tomorrow, you'll do it all again. Because in this world, there's no such thing as a day off. The saloon, the business, and the girls, they all depend on you. And you'll never stop fighting for them. The night stretches on, each passing hour thick with the chatter and clinking of glasses, the low hum of piano music playing in the background as you keep your eyes sharp, ever watchful. The Silver Star Saloon is alive with its usual mixture of dust, alcohol, and people seeking solace from the rough realities of life on the frontier. The miners have gathered, their faces weathered from long hours of labor, their voices loud and jarring. Some have already had too much to drink, their laughter harsh and raucous. Others are quieter, watching the girls with a kind of quiet reverence that seems almost too respectful for the world they live in. You navigate the room with ease, exchanging brief but practiced pleasantries with the regulars, ensuring everyone is well served. Your girls are scattered throughout, their laughter and smiles drawing in the men, some of whom are here for a simple drink, others with more specific intentions. It's a delicate dance, one you've perfected over the years. You know how to manage the customers, how to read their moods and desires, and how to protect your girls from anyone who might step out of line. It's not always easy. There's always one man, one customer, who pushes too far, tests the limits of what's acceptable in your establishment. Tonight, it's a tall, broad-shouldered cowboy who seems to have had one too many whiskeys. He's leaning heavily on the bar, his words slurring as he calls for another round, his eyes fixed on Beth, who is seated nearby, laughing at something one of the other girls said. You can see the way his eyes track her, the hunger in his gaze. It's a look you've seen before. He's not here for a drink. He's looking for something more. You don't hesitate. You walk over smoothly, your steps measured, your demeanor calm but authoritative. You've dealt with men like him before. Is there a problem, Mr. Thompson? You ask, your voice even but sharp enough to cut through the noise of the saloon. He looks up, surprised to see you standing there. His hand moves instinctively to his holster, but you've already seen the tension in his posture. A man who's had too much to drink and is testing his limits. No problem at all, Miss Catherine, he says, grinning in a way that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Just admiring the girls. Ain't nothing wrong with that, is there? You smile thinly. Admiring from a distance, maybe. But you're getting a little too close for comfort, Mr. Thompson. His grin falters slightly. and you can see the flicker of realization in his eyes. You've been running this business long enough to know how to make a man think twice. You know how to use your words like weapons to project confidence and authority in a way that demands respect. "I'll be sure to keep my distance then," he mutters, his voice no longer as boisterous, just having a bit of fun. "Good. That's the kind of fun we like around here, the kind that doesn't cause trouble." You nod curtly, then turn to walk away, but not before you see him shift uncomfortably, his hand still hovering near his gun. You know that he's not going to cause trouble tonight, not with you standing there, making it clear that his kind of behavior won't be tolerated. But you also know that if he comes back tomorrow, he'll remember this moment. He'll remember that you're not a woman to be taken lightly. As you make your way to the back of the saloon, you feel the weight of the room settle onto your shoulders. This business is constant work, constant vigilance. It's not just about running a brothel. It's about managing people, keeping the peace, making sure that everyone knows their place. You've learned over the years that a good madam doesn't just keep the books and manage the finances. She manages emotions, personalities, and power dynamics. She navigates the world of men who want something they can't have, and women who are trying to make the best of a life that society doesn't care for. You find Lucy in the kitchen, a place of solace and refuge in the chaos of the saloon. She's cleaning a pot, her hands moving quickly and with purpose. "Everything all right?" you ask quietly, not needing to elaborate. You both know what the question means. The girls are safe. The business is running smoothly. But sometimes things can change in an instant. Lucy looks up and nods. All quiet on the floor. Rose is handling the new girl. She seems to be doing all right so far. You smile at the mention of Emily. You'd been keeping a close eye on her, watching how she adapted to the life she'd chosen. So far, so good. She hadn't been thrown off by the men or the constant pressure to perform, which was a good sign. Many women, especially those new to the trade, often found themselves overwhelmed by the demands placed on them. It wasn't just about offering physical comfort. It was about the emotional labor, the smiles, the laughter, the small acts of affection that kept customers coming back. It was about pretending to enjoy the company of men who often saw you as little more than an object to be used. "Let's hope she keeps it up," you say softly, wiping your hands on a rag and sitting down at the small table in the back. It's not an easy life for a girl like her, but she's got potential. Lucy shrugs, not looking up from her work. She's a quick learner, and I don't think she's here to play games. I saw it in her eyes. She knows what she's doing here. You nod thoughtfully. You'd seen that same look in the eyes of many girls who had walked through those doors, a mix of fear, desperation, and determination. Emily had it too. It was the look of someone who knew they had no choice but to make the best of a bad situation. There was no shame in it. In the Wild West, women were often given no choice at all. But there were those who fought back, those who carved out their own path, took control of their own fate, and built something from the nothing that life had handed them. And that's what you had done. You had built an empire from the back rooms of the Silver Star. Not a grand empire, not the kind of empire the men built, but an empire nonetheless. You controlled the flow of money in the town. You decided which customers would be allowed in, and you made sure your girls were treated with the respect they deserved. But it came with a price. Power in this business was always fragile. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and it could all come crashing down. You'd seen it happen before. Madams who got too comfortable, who allowed their guards to drop. They ended up with broken dreams and ruined businesses. You couldn't afford to make those mistakes. A loud crash from the front of the saloon pulls you from your thoughts. You stand up immediately, your heart racing as you rush toward the sound. As you round the corner, you see that one of the tables has been knocked over, and a fight has broken out between two miners. They're both big men, their faces red with anger, their fists flying. "Stop it!" you shout, your voice cutting through the noise of the saloon. "Get a hold of yourselves!" But they're too far gone. One of the men, a burly miner with a thick beard, shoves the other man hard, sending him crashing into the bar. You see Thomas, your trusted bartender, standing by, a shotgun in his hands. He looks at you, his face a mask of calm, waiting for your command. You know what he's thinking. He's ready to step in if it comes to that. "Thomas, take care of this," you say, your voice steady despite the chaos unfolding in front of you. You don't need to shout to be heard. The authority in your tone is enough. Without a word, Thomas moves toward the brawling men, his presence alone enough to stop them in their tracks. He shoves the bearded man away, his grip like iron, and the fight fizzles out almost immediately. The two miners exchange a few choice words, but they're no longer interested in throwing punches. The room quiets, the tension dissipating like smoke. You take a deep breath and turn to address the crowd, your gaze sweeping across the room. "Nothing to see here, folks. Just a little misunderstanding," you say, your voice calm but commanding. "Now, let's get back to enjoying our drinks." The customers, sensing the shift in energy, begin to relax, and the chatter starts up again. Some of the girls, who had been standing near the piano, return to their positions, while others move toward the bar to offer their services to the remaining patrons. You watch as the miners settle back into their seats, nursing their drinks, and the room gradually returns to its usual rhythm. But the incident has left a mark, a reminder of the volatility of the business you run. As the night continues, you move between the girls and the customers, keeping a careful eye on everything. The Silver Star is your domain, and you know that as long as you're in charge, you can maintain control. But even the strongest foundations can crack under pressure. And tonight, as you look around the room, you can't shake the feeling that something is about to shift. The delicate balance of power in your saloon, the one you've so carefully constructed, may soon face a new challenge, one you're not sure you're ready for. But then again, you've faced challenges before, and you've always come out on top. Tomorrow is another day of survival, another day of managing the delicate balance of power that keeps the Silver Star running smoothly, another day of fighting for the girls, for your business, and for your place in a world that would rather see you disappear. But for now, you watch the girls moving gracefully between tables, the flickering candlelight casting long shadows across the room. And you know one thing for sure. You've survived this long for a reason, and you'll keep surviving, because that's what you do. The night drags on, the tension from earlier dissolving into the usual murmur of conversation, the clinking of glasses, and the soft, rhythmic playing of the piano. The fight has been forgotten, the spilled drinks cleaned up, and now the Silver Star is once again the lively, bustling haven it was before the chaos began. But for you, the night feels different. There's a sense of something on the horizon, something shifting beneath the surface of the saloon. You move through the room, greeting the regulars and making sure your girls are attended to. Emily, the new girl, is doing well. You watch her from a distance, her posture still a little unsure, but she's managing the men with a surprising amount of poise. There's a quiet determination in her eyes that reminds you of your younger self. You wonder if she'll last, if she'll grow into the role like the others, or if she'll fade away, worn down by the weight of this life. You hope for the former. You can't afford to lose good girls, especially not in this line of work. "Catherine," a voice calls, pulling you from your thoughts. You turn to see Jenny, the eldest of your girls, standing near the door, her eyes scanning the room. She's got a sharp mind and a way with customers that brings in the most money. Jenny's been with you for years, and you've come to rely on her not just as a worker, but as an ally. Something wrong? You ask, moving toward her. Jenny lowers her voice, glancing around to make sure no one is listening. There's a man at the bar, she says, her tone cautious. He's been here before, but he's acting different tonight. He keeps asking about you. You raise an eyebrow, immediately alert. Asking about me? What for? She shrugs, her face a mask of practiced indifference. I don't know, but I didn't like the way he was looking at you earlier. He's not one of your regulars. And you glance toward the bar, your eyes narrowing as you spot the man Jenny is referring to. He's sitting at the far end, a tall figure with a weathered face, his hair dark but streaked with gray, and his clothes are fine, though worn not a miner, but a traveler, someone who's seen the world. He's nursing a drink, his eyes scanning the room, occasionally glancing over at you. Something about the way he watches you makes your skin prickle. I'll take care of it, you say, your voice calm but firm. Jenny nods, but you can tell she's not entirely comfortable. She knows the men who come through here. She knows the signs of trouble, and this man has them written all over him. You make your way to the bar, your heels clicking softly on the wooden floor. As you approach, the man's eyes shift to you, his gaze sharp and assessing. He doesn't smile when you reach him, just gives a slight nod, as if he's been expecting you. You stop a few feet away, folding your arms across your chest. There's a certain power in controlling the distance between you and a man like him. Can I help you? You ask, keeping your tone neutral. But underneath it, there's an edge, a warning. You're not some naive woman who doesn't understand the games men like him play. The man takes a long drink from his glass before answering, his voice low and measured. I think we need to have a talk, he says, not even bothering to offer a greeting. About you and your establishment. Your pulse quickens, though you keep your expression steady. I don't discuss business with strangers. He chuckles softly, leaning forward on the bar. Oh, I'm no stranger, Miss Catherine. Not really. I've been here before, though I suppose you wouldn't remember. I've seen your type all over, but I didn't think you'd be running things around here. End of. His words feel like a veiled insult, but you don't flinch. You've dealt with men who thought they could belittle you before. You don't let their words rattle you. Not anymore. Running things, you ask, raising an eyebrow. This saloon doesn't need anyone running it. It's been running fine on its own. He eyes you for a moment, and you can see the amusement in his eyes, the kind of amusement that comes from seeing someone try to play a game they can't win. I've got a proposition for you, he says, lowering his voice. One that might be in your best interest. You feel your instincts flare. There's something in his voice that suggests a hidden agenda, and you've learned over the years that the most dangerous men are often the ones who speak in riddles, hiding their true intentions behind a veil of charm and false pleasantries. I'm not interested in any proposition you have, you reply, turning to leave. Good night, Mr. Wells, he finishes, his voice trailing after you. Just think about it. I know what you're up to, and I know what you really want. You don't turn back, but his words linger in your mind as you walk away. What does he know? What does he think he knows? You shake your head, pushing the thoughts aside. You've been in this game long enough to know when a man is trying to make a move, and when he's trying to intimidate you. You won't let him get under your skin. Not tonight. As you reach the back of the saloon, you take a deep breath, trying to steady your nerves. There's something unsettling about the man, something that doesn't sit right with you. But there are other matters to attend to, and you can't afford to get distracted. Not tonight. Lucy gives you a knowing look as you return to the kitchen. She's already sensed the tension. "Everything all right?" she asks quietly. You nod, though you don't fully believe it yourself. Just another customer trying to make a name for himself. She doesn't push, but you can tell that she's concerned. She's been with you for long enough to know that something's not right when you're this tense. The evening wears on, and the crowd continues to swell. More miners trickle in, followed by cowboys and travelers looking for a little distraction before the night's rest. You make your rounds, ensuring that everyone is content, that the girls are safe, and that no one is getting too drunk. Business is steady, as always. But as you move through the saloon, the unease from your earlier conversation lingers in the back of your mind. It's not just Wells. It's the constant pressure, the danger that always looms just out of sight. The men who come through your doors with their desires, their violence, their money. The girls you're responsible for, the lives you hold in your hands. Every day you walk a fine line, balancing power with survival, compassion with business, fear with control. And every night, you wonder how long you can keep it up before something finally gives. As the night continues, you keep an eye on Wells from across the room. He's still sitting at the bar, nursing his drink, his eyes flicking occasionally toward you. His presence is a reminder of the unpredictable nature of life on the frontier. A single encounter, a single conversation could change everything. You wonder what his game is, why he's here, and what he thinks he can achieve by threatening you with vague words and veiled threats. At some point, you push those thoughts aside. There's too much to focus on to get caught up in this man's power plays. You have a business to run, and the girls rely on you. As the piano player starts a new tune, the room fills with music and laughter once again. You greet another group of miners and take a seat with a few regulars, offering a smile and a warm laugh. The night continues just as it always has. But deep down, you know that something has shifted. Wells's presence is a reminder that, despite all the control you think you have, there are forces beyond your control. And you'll need to be ready for whatever comes next. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new encounters, new faces. And in this business, there's always something lurking beneath the surface. Something waiting to rise to the surface and test your resolve. But tonight, you let the noise of the saloon wash over you. For now, at least, you are in control. The hours slip by in a haze of smoke, laughter, and clinking glasses. The evening wears on, and the saloon fills with the rhythm of the frontier, fast, fleeting, and unpredictable. As the night draws to a close, you retreat to your office, the space where you keep the most important parts of your life, the books, the money, the secrets. You sit at your desk, your mind still buzzing with the conversation with Wells, the unease lingering. You know better than to trust anyone who walks in off the street with promises or threats. But you also know that men like him don't make idle threats. They have agendas, and those agendas rarely involve good intentions. The door to your office creaks open, and you look up to see Emily standing in the doorway, her face pale from exhaustion but still holding herself with quiet grace. "You need anything, Emily?" you ask, your voice softer than usual. She hesitates before speaking, her voice just above a whisper. "I just wanted to thank you for giving me a chance." You smile faintly, the exhaustion in her voice reminding you of your younger self. "You'll make it through. Just remember what I said. You need to be strong. The world won't show you any mercy." Emily nods, her eyes searching yours. She's learning fast. And in this life, that's the most important thing. "Good night, madam," she says quietly, turning to leave. "Good night, Emily," you reply, watching her disappear into the night. As the door clicks shut behind her, you sit back in your chair, the weight of the evening settling in. Tomorrow is another day, and you'll face whatever comes next, just as you always have. Because that's what you do. You survive. And in this world, survival is everything. The morning arrives quietly. The gentle creak of the old saloon's wooden floors under the weight of your feet, the first sound to greet you. The faint light of dawn breaks through the thin curtains of your room, casting long, somber shadows across the floor. You have become accustomed to the rhythms of this life, the late nights, the early mornings, the never-ending duties that come with running the Silver Star. Your body aches, your muscles protesting as you sit up, the day's demands already weighing on your mind. But you don't allow yourself to linger in bed. There is always work to be done. You rise and pull on the faded cotton robe that has seen better days but still serves its purpose. You stand before the small mirror hanging by the door, your reflection staring back at you, worn and weathered from years of managing a life that has never been kind to women in your position. The lines at the corners of your eyes, the hardness in the set of your mouth, they are the marks of a life lived in constant survival. But despite it all, you still hold your head high, because that's the only way to survive in a world like this. You wash your face with cold water, the shock of it jolting you awake, and after a moment of quiet contemplation, you gather your thoughts. Today is another day in the endless cycle of managing a brothel, ensuring the safety of your girls, overseeing the bar, handling the financials, and dealing with the ever-looming threat of danger that always lurks around the corner. As you walk downstairs to the main floor of the saloon, the quiet hum of the morning is already beginning to stir. Thomas is behind the bar, his broad shoulders hunched over a rag as he wipes down the counters. The familiar smell of stale beer and wood smoke fills the air, mixing with the scent of freshly brewed coffee. You nod a greeting to him as you pass, his eyes meeting yours with a subtle acknowledgement. "Morning, Miss Catherine," he says, his deep voice soft with respect. "Morning, Thomas," you reply, your voice smooth but carrying the weight of authority that has become second nature to you. "Everything in order?" Thomas looks up from his task, his eyes scanning the room briefly. "Quiet night, no trouble," he adds with a small nod. "I've got the coffee ready if you'd like some." You wave him off with a smile, though you're grateful for his vigilance. The truth is, you don't always have the luxury of resting, even in the quiet moments of the morning. The saloon is still a place where men come and go, where secrets are exchanged, and where danger always hovers just outside the door. As the day stretches on, the quiet pace of the morning begins to shift. Girls start to stir from their rooms, emerging in various states of dishevelment. Some stretch and yawn, still fighting the effects of last night's work. Others, like Lucy, are already fully awake and ready to begin their duties, preparing breakfast or attending to the small, necessary tasks that keep the saloon running smoothly. You take a seat at your desk in the back room, the soft glow of the morning sunlight filtering through the small window. The ledger sits before you, a constant reminder of the business you manage. Your fingers move with practiced ease over the pages, tallying the earnings from the previous night. The numbers are good, steady, reliable, and enough to keep the saloon afloat for another week. But that's the thing about this business. It's never certain. Tomorrow could bring in a flood of customers, or it could dry up entirely. There is always a fragile balance between risk and reward. As you finish the last of the entries, you hear the faint sound of footsteps approaching the back door. You know who it is before they even knock. The rhythmic, deliberate sound of the steps. It's Emily. You've been keeping an eye on her, watching her adjustment to life in the saloon. So far, she's doing well, but you know how fragile that can be. This life changes people. It hardens them or breaks them. You rise from your desk just as she steps inside, her face a mixture of nervousness and determination. She's dressed for the day, her hair neatly tied back, though a few strands have escaped their confines. Her eyes meet yours, and you see something in them, a hint of the same fire you once had, the same quiet resolve that says, she's not going to let this life consume her. Not yet. Good morning, madam, she greets. Her voice still soft, but more assured than it was when she first arrived. Good morning, Emily, you reply with a small smile. How are you feeling? She hesitates before answering, clearly still adjusting to the pace of life at the Silver Star. I'm doing well. It's not easy, but I think I'm getting used to it. Her eyes flicker with uncertainty, as if she's waiting for you to judge her. You don't. Instead, you nod, your expression unreadable. That's good, you say. But don't forget, this is a business. You're not just here for the customers. You're here to survive. And that means you need to make choices that are right for you. She nods, but there's a slight frown on her face, one that speaks of the weight of the decision she's made. You can see it in the way her shoulders sag slightly, the subtle tension in her body. She's not just here to serve drinks or take on customers. She's here because she has no other choice. Before you can say more, there's a knock at the door. You both turn to see Lucy standing there, her face flushed from the morning's work. Boss, she says, her voice tinged with concern. We've got a problem. Your heart sinks. You can tell from the tone of her voice that this isn't going to be something easy to handle. You glance at Emily, who is already taking a step back, her nerves apparent, and you motion for her to stay. Talk to me, you say to Lucy, your voice sharp. There's a man. Came in last night. Claims he knows you. Lucy continues, her eyes darting toward the door. Says he's got business with you, but he's not the usual type of customer. He's trouble, Catherine. I can feel it. And you take a slow breath, your mind immediately racing through the possibilities. The man Jenny had warned you about, the one who kept asking questions, it must be him. Wells, you can't shake the feeling that his presence here is not random. There's something off about him. Something that makes the hairs on your neck stand up. Where is he? You ask, your voice steady despite the tension in the air. He's in the saloon just waiting. I think he's trying to make contact with you. I've told the girls to keep an eye on him, but I don't trust him. You nod, your instincts kicking in. I'll handle it. Lucy looks at you, concern etched on her face. Be careful, Catherine. This feels different. He's not like the usual crowd. You give her a reassuring look, though the unease still coils tight in your gut. I'll be fine. You walk out of the back room, your boots clicking softly against the floor as you make your way toward the front of the saloon. Wells is sitting at the far end of the bar, his eyes scanning the room like he's waiting for something or someone. He's not here for a drink, you know that much. There's something more to this. As you approach, his eyes lift to meet yours, a small, knowing smile curling at the corners of his lips. He doesn't say anything at first, just watches you with those cold, calculating eyes that seem to miss nothing. Well, well, Catherine, he says, his voice smooth, almost too smooth. I was wondering when you'd show up. You stop just short of him, not allowing him to get too comfortable. You have something you want to discuss, Mr. Wells? You ask, your voice cool and even. His eyes glimmer with amusement, and for a moment, you wonder if you've underestimated him. He's not just a nuisance. He's playing a game, and you're not sure yet whether you're a pawn or a player in it. I think we both know that's not why I'm here, he replies, his voice low and filled with insinuation. I think you know exactly why I've come. You keep your gaze steady, refusing to show any weakness. Then say it. Get to the point. I don't have time for games. Wells chuckles, leaning back in his chair, his fingers drumming absently on the bar. You're still playing coy, huh? Fine. I'm here because you're a smart woman, Catherine. You've made a name for yourself, built an empire on this business. But I'm offering you a chance to expand, to move beyond just managing a saloon and a brothel. You raise an eyebrow, though inside, a cold suspicion begins to form. Expand? To what? He leans forward, his smile widening. I have connections, Catherine, powerful ones. People who could help you take this place and the business you run to a whole new level. But there's a price, of course. End of people. You keep your face impassive, though your heart starts to race. This is exactly what you feared. Men like him don't offer something for nothing. There's always a cost. And you don't trust him enough to even consider what he's offering. And what's the price? You ask, your voice cold. Wells leans in, his voice dropping to a whisper. I need your help with something. A little favor. In exchange for all the things I can provide. He pauses, watching you carefully for any sign of hesitation. You don't give him the satisfaction. I don't make deals with men like you, not without knowing exactly what's at stake. He smiles again, but this time it doesn't reach his eyes. I knew you'd say that, but you're a smart woman, Catherine. You'll come around. Everyone does eventually. With that, he stands, offering you a polite nod before walking away, leaving you standing in the middle of the saloon, your heart pounding in your chest. The conversation with Wells leaves you shaken, but you can't afford to show it. You need to remain strong, in control, just as you always have. As the day stretches on, you feel the weight of his words settle heavily on your shoulders. You're no fool. You know that his presence here isn't coincidental. He's a threat. But just how big of a threat, you're still not sure. All you know is that you can't afford to let your guard down. Tomorrow will bring a new challenge, a new test. But for now, you sit back in your chair, trying to push the feeling of unease aside. Tomorrow, you'll face whatever comes your way, because that's what you do. The evening wears on, and despite your best efforts to remain calm, the tension Wells brought into the saloon lingers like a dark cloud. You've been around long enough to know that men like him don't back off easily. There's always an angle, and right now, you can't decide whether he's a problem you can manage, or a threat that will eventually rip your carefully constructed empire to pieces. You sit behind the bar, absent-mindedly cleaning a glass, your thoughts scattered. The usual hum of activity swirls around you, the soft chatter of miners, the occasional raucous laughter of cowboys, the clink of glasses as drinks are poured. But it all feels distant, as though you're watching it through a fogged window. Your attention keeps drifting back to Wells and the unsettling offer he made. Lucy has noticed your distraction, but she doesn't press you. She's learned over the years that you carry your burdens silently. Still, you can see the concern in her eyes, the way she glances at you from time to time. She knows something's off, and she knows you won't talk about it until you're ready. The door swings open with the creak of the old wood, and another round of dusty, tired men enters. It's business as usual, yet somehow it feels like you're walking through the motions, detached from the world you've worked so hard to control. A part of you wonders if that's what Wells had been aiming for to make you doubt yourself, your business, your position here. His words echo in your mind, heavy with implication. You'll come around. Everyone does eventually. End of crowd. What did he mean by that? What does he really want? You push those thoughts aside as the new customers take their places at the bar, ordering their drinks with the usual gruff politeness. They're here to unwind, to spend their hard-earned money, and to forget about the world outside. But you can't forget. You can't afford to. Not with the risks mounting. As you move to serve the first man, a regular who's been coming here for years, your mind drifts back to your girls. They rely on you, look to you for guidance, protection, and stability. You've been running this saloon for nearly a decade now, and you've weathered countless storms, financial troubles, rival brothels, and the ever-present threat of lawmen sniffing around. But Wells is different. He's not just a nuisance. He's someone who knows how to play the game. And right now, you don't know the rules of his game. After serving the last drink, you step into the back room, away from the bustling saloon. You close the door behind you. The quietness, a temporary respite from the chaos. You lean against the desk, rubbing your temples. You can feel the weight of the decisions ahead pressing on you. It's moments like this, moments of doubt and uncertainty, that remind you of the fragile nature of everything you've built. One wrong move, and it all could come crashing down. Boss, you glance up to see Lucy standing in the doorway. She looks hesitant, almost apologetic, as if she's afraid to disturb your thoughts. What is it, you ask, trying to mask the frustration in your voice? There's been a bit of trouble, Lucy says softly. One of the new girls, Sadi, she's been causing some issues with the others. You sigh and push away from the desk, the burden of managing personalities starting to feel like more than you can handle. What happened now? It's not a big thing, Lucy assures you, though her tone betrays the concern she's trying to hide. She's been a little too friendly with a few of the customers. And, well, it's creating some jealousy among the others. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the exhaustion wash over you. All right, you finally say, your voice calm but firm. I'll handle it. End of. Lucy nods. But there's still something in her eyes, something that tells you this is just the beginning of a much bigger problem. You push the thought away for now. There's only so much you can do in one day. And right now, you need to keep your head. You walk into the main room of the saloon, taking in the sight of your girls, some working, others standing off to the side, chatting with customers or resting between shifts. There's a sense of order here, a kind of unspoken harmony that you've maintained through discipline and a careful balance of power. But even the slightest crack in that balance can have devastating consequences. You can feel it in the air now. You spot Sadi immediately. She's sitting with a group of miners at the back table, laughing too loudly, her body language too inviting. You can tell from across the room that she's not just flirting with them, she's doing everything she can to draw their attention, to make herself the center of their focus. And it's not just the customers that are noticing. Several of the girls are glancing over at the table, their faces tense with quiet jealousy. You can feel the tension building, even without hearing their whispered conversations. You make your way over to the table, each step deliberate. The room falls silent as you approach, the sharp sound of your boots on the wooden floor cutting through the soft murmur of conversation. Sadi looks up at you with a smile that falters as she sees the look on your face. She knows she's in trouble, but she doesn't seem to care. Everything all right, Sadi? You ask, keeping your voice cool and controlled. She glances at the men beside her, their grins still wide and unrepentant, before turning back to you. Just enjoying some company, boss, she says, her voice sweet but edged with defiance. Is that a problem? You don't respond immediately. Instead, you take a moment to scan the table, noting the glances exchanged between the girls. Some of them are barely hiding their annoyance, while others are just plain frustrated. You know this game. You've seen it 1,000 times before the competition. The silent rivalries, the petty squabbles over customers and attention. You lean in slightly, speaking softly so only Sadi can hear. You're not here to make things difficult for the other girls. You know the rules. You give her a hard look, your eyes locking onto hers. You're here to work, Sadie, not to make the men think they can buy your attention. You want to do that? You can find somewhere else to work. She doesn't flinch, doesn't back down, but the smile fades from her lips, and for the first time, you see the faintest flicker of realization in her eyes. I understand, she mutters, lowering her gaze. I'll tone it down. You nod, but you're not finished. I don't tolerate competition amongst my girls. You know that. If you want to keep working here, you need to respect the rules. You pause, letting the weight of your words settle between you. If I see this again, I'll have to make a change, and you won't like the consequences. There's a long pause as Sadi looks up at you, her expression unreadable. For a moment, you wonder if she's going to argue, but she simply nods and mutters, "Understood." You turn away, but not before you catch the glance from Lucy. She's standing by the bar, watching the entire exchange with her usual quiet intensity. You can tell she's been paying attention, and her eyes tell you everything you need to know. This situation isn't over. It's only just begun. You return to your office, closing the door behind you, and sit down heavily at your desk. For a moment, you allow yourself to close your eyes, the weight of the day settling on your shoulders. You've spent years building this place, maintaining a delicate balance, and you know it's always one bad decision away from falling apart. The girls, the customers, the constant juggling act of keeping everything running smoothly, it's exhausting. And then there's Wells. You can feel the storm brewing on the horizon, and you wonder just how long you can keep the winds from tearing everything apart. The morning after Sadi's confrontation, the Silver Star is quieter than usual. The tension in the air lingers like the smell of smoke from last night's fire. Each small interaction carrying the weight of unspoken word. You've always been good at keeping control, good at knowing how to manage the girls and the customers. But today feels different. Today, it feels like that control is slipping through your fingers, despite your best efforts. You sit at your desk in the back room, the ledger open before you, but your mind isn't on the numbers. It's on Sadi. The warning you gave her didn't seem to sink in the way it should have, and while she'd agreed to behave, you can sense there's more beneath the surface. A girl like her doesn't just act out without reason, and that reason, you suspect, goes deeper than simple jealousy. You rub your temples, trying to push the thoughts away, but they won't go. The harsh reality of your world presses in on you. You've spent years building this place, creating something of value in a town that thrives on the back of exploitation, violence, and chaos. The Silver Star has been a refuge, a sanctuary, not just for the men who come to drink and forget, but for the women who live here, too. You've provided them with protection, stability, and a way to earn their living without falling into the worst of the trade. But the balance is always fragile. One wrong move, one crack in the system, and everything could come crashing down. You close the ledger and take a deep breath, pushing yourself to focus. You need to deal with the problems here and now, not the ones that are lurking in the shadows. There's a knock at the door, and you rise quickly, putting aside your thoughts as Lucy enters, her face still serious, though there's a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "What is it?" you ask, knowing she has something on her mind. "It's Sadi again," Lucy says, her voice low. "She's been talking to the new guy, Wells. I saw them talking by the back door last night." I don't like it, Catherine. You freeze at the mention of Wells. You'd hope the man would stay away for a few days, giving you a little breathing room, but it seems that the storm you've been bracing for is already here. Are you sure? You ask, your voice a little more clipped than you intended. Lucy nods, her eyes steady. I'm sure. I didn't hear everything, but they were speaking in private, and it didn't seem like the kind of conversation a girl should be having with him. She looked too comfortable. A chill runs down your spine, the weight of Wells's words echoing in your mind once again. Everyone comes around eventually. You straighten, swallowing the sudden surge of panic that threatens to overtake you. I'll handle it, you say, your voice calm but firm, the mask of control slipping back into place. Let me speak to her. Lucy doesn't argue, but there's concern in her eyes as she gives you a small nod before leaving the room. You take a moment, letting the tension of the situation settle over you. Then, with a purposeful stride, you make your way into the saloon. The late morning light filters through the thin curtains, casting a hazy glow over the room. The bar is mostly empty, just a few miners nursing the last of their drinks before heading back to their shifts. In the far corner, Sadie is sitting alone at a table, the same one where she was talking to Wells last night. She looks up as you approach, and for a moment, there's a flicker of unease in her eyes. But she quickly masks it with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Good morning, madam, she says, her voice too sweet, too practiced. You stand before her, arms crossed, not allowing her to avoid your gaze. We need to talk, Sadie. The smile falters for just a moment, and then she looks up at you with feigned innocence. About what? You and Wells, you say, cutting to the point. I saw you talking to him last night. Sadie shifts in her seat, not quite meeting your eyes. I was just being friendly, madam. He seemed like a nice man. You don't let her off the hook that easily. I told you, Sadie, you can't get too close to the customers, especially men like him. Sadie bristles slightly, her defensiveness apparent. I didn't do anything wrong. Just talking. He's not like the others. There it is again. That naive idealism. You can hear the desperation in her voice, the need to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone like Wells could offer her more than this life. You shake your head, steeling yourself against the urge to feel sorry for her. Listen, Sadie, I know what this life can do to you. You can't let men like Wells use you for their own games. He doesn't want you. He wants to control you. And if you're not careful, he'll use you to destroy everything we've built here. The words hit harder than you expect, and for a moment, you see a flicker of fear in her eyes. But it's gone almost instantly, replaced by a flash of anger. You think I'm stupid. I know how it works around here. Sadie stands abruptly, knocking her chair back with a loud clatter. I don't need you to lecture me. I'm not some helpless little girl. You take a deep breath, the air thick with the tension between you. Then start acting like it. You don't want to be a part of this? Fine. But if you're going to stay here, you need to respect the rules. Sadie glares at you for a long moment before she finally lowers her eyes, the fire in her fading slightly. I understand, she mutters under her breath, her voice barely audible. I'll stay away from Wells. For a brief moment, you wonder if she truly understands the gravity of the situation. But then, the hardness of her expression gives way to something else, a hint of vulnerability. Perhaps she knows that even the smallest misstep could cost her everything. You don't want to lose her, but you also can't afford to have her jeopardize everything you've worked for. You nod, taking a step back. Good. And remember, you don't just work here for the customers. You work for yourself, too. Make sure you remember that. Sadie hesitates before nodding in return, though the defiance still lingers in her eyes. You turn to leave, your mind already shifting to the next task at hand. There are always more problems to solve, but as you head back toward the bar, you can't shake the feeling that this issue with Sadi is far from over. The weight of Wells still lingers, heavy and oppressive. You know he's going to come back. He always does. And when he does, you'll need to be ready. The silver star hums with a quiet energy, the steady rhythm of the piano filling the air as it always does. There's an illusion of calm here, a momentary lull in the usual chaos that reigns in this place. You sit at your desk, reviewing accounts, though the numbers blur before your eyes. You're deep in thought, trying to piece together the threads of your business, the delicate balancing act that's kept this place running smoothly for years. Yet the cracks are starting to show. The flicker of the lanterns casts shadows on the walls, dancing in time with the music, but it's not enough to hide the unease creeping through the saloon. You've always kept control, but control is a slippery thing, and right now, you can feel it slipping away. Sadi's confrontation had left a mark, and you know it. The anger, the defiance. She's not the kind of girl to just forget. She'll find a way to challenge you again, and next time, it might not be as easy to handle. Your thoughts are interrupted by a soft knock at the door. You don't need to ask who it is. Lucy's the only one who would knock like that, gentle but insistent, always giving you a moment to prepare for whatever bad news she's about to deliver. "Come in," you say, not looking up from the ledger. She enters quietly, the sound of her boots soft on the floor, and closes the door behind her. For a moment, she doesn't speak, just stands there, looking at you as if weighing whether to tell you what's on her mind. You know the expression on her face too well. It's the one she wears when she's afraid of what you'll say, when she knows the situation is about to get more complicated than it already is. "What is it?" you ask, your voice calm but with an edge of impatience. "Wells is back," she says softly, her eyes meeting yours. You don't react immediately, just nod, the familiar sense of foreboding settling over you like a cold shadow. Of course, he's back. You knew he would be. He's like a storm that never quite passes. You try to keep your face neutral, but inside, your heart picks up its pace. "Where is he now?" you ask. "Waiting for you downstairs," Lucy replies. "He said he wants to speak with you privately." Lay. You push your chair back, standing with the practiced grace of someone who's had years to perfect the art of maintaining composure in the face of danger. The world around you may be filled with uncertainty, but in moments like this, you must remain calm, focused. You take a deep breath, then make your way out of the office and into the main room. The saloon is quieter than it has been in recent days. The morning crowd, having dwindled down to a few regulars scattered at the bar. The piano is stopped for a break, and the hum of conversation seems muted against the backdrop of your thoughts. As you walk across the room, your eyes scan the familiar faces of your girls, some working with customers, others chatting in small groups, but none of them look particularly happy today. The unease is infectious. Sadi is nowhere to be seen, though you catch a glimpse of her at the far end of the room, standing near the door leading to the back alley, talking with a man whose silhouette you don't recognize. You focus your attention ahead, where Wells is sitting at one of the tables near the far wall. He's alone, but there's something about the way he sits there, with his back straight and his hands folded neatly on the table, that sets you on edge. He looks every bit the businessman, calm, collected, confident, but you know better. You know that beneath that polished exterior lies a predator, someone who's used to getting what he wants. "Wells," you say as you approach, your voice steady but firm, the words a challenge and an invitation all at once. He stands up when you reach the table, his movements smooth, almost rehearsed. He's dressed in his usual dark clothing, his eyes sharp as they lock onto yours. For a brief moment, it feels like he's sizing you up, trying to figure out how much of a threat you really are. "Catherine," he says, his voice low and almost courteous, "I'm glad you're here." You don't respond right away. Just stand there for a moment, waiting for him to speak. You're not about to make this easy for him. "I trust you're doing well?" Wells continues, his tone polite but laced with something that feels like an undercurrent of threat. "I've been keeping an eye on the Silver Star. I must say, I'm impressed. You've built quite a little empire here." You raise an eyebrow, trying to suppress the anger that flares at his words. "Get to the point, Wells. I'm not interested in idle compliments." He smiles slightly, the kind of smile that never reaches his eyes. "Straight to the point, then." He takes a step closer, lowering his voice as if to make the conversation more intimate, more private. "I came to offer you a deal." And you remain unmoved, staring at him with the practiced indifference that you've spent years cultivating. You know better than to show your hand. "A deal?" you ask, voice flat. "That's right," he says, leaning in just a little closer. "You and I could work together. I could help you expand your business, make it even more profitable than it already is. I'm sure you've noticed that the competition in this town is getting tougher. And, well, I have the resources you might need." And his words hang in the air, heavy with implication. You know exactly what he's offering, an alliance of sorts, but with the underlying promise that he would be the one pulling the strings. He wants to control you, control this place. But what he doesn't understand is that you've been controlling things for a long time. You built this, and you're not about to hand it over to someone like him. "You think I need your help?" you ask, your voice colder now, the challenge unmistakable. "I don't need anyone to help me run my business. I've been doing fine on my own." Wells doesn't flinch, doesn't show any sign of discomfort at your refusal. "You might think that now," he says, his voice still smooth, almost coaxing. "But the reality is, the world's changing. You can't keep running things the way you have forever. You'll need someone who can handle the things you can't. You'll need a partner." You lean in, narrowing your eyes at him. "I don't make deals with men who think they can control me. I built this empire on my own, and I'll burn it to the ground before I let someone like you take it." Wells chuckles, his smile widening ever so slightly. "We'll see about that," he says cryptically, as if the words themselves are a warning. "But don't take too long to think it over. People like me always get what they want in the end." I'm saying, with that, he stands up, and you can't help but notice the subtle shift in the room as he walks past you, as though the air itself changes with his presence. He stops for a moment at the door, turning back to look at you one last time. "I'll be around, Catherine," he says. "Don't forget my offer." As he leaves, you stand frozen for a moment, trying to calm the storm brewing inside you. You can feel the weight of the decision bearing down on you, but you know one thing for certain. Wells doesn't scare you. You've faced down bigger threats than him, and you've come out on top. But the way he spoke so certain, so calm, makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, he knows something you don't. You take a deep breath and turn back toward the bar, your mind racing. There's no time to waste. You need to focus. The girls, the business, everything you've worked for, it's all at stake now. Wells is just one piece of the puzzle, but he's a dangerous one. And if you're going to survive in this world, you'll have to be smarter than he is. As you make your way to the bar, you glance over at Saudi again. She's still standing near the back, watching you with a look of uncertainty. The game she's playing with Wells might be bigger than she realizes, and the question of loyalty weighs heavily on your mind. Will she be the one who brings everything crashing down? Or will she prove herself, like the others, and earn her place in your empire? You don't know the answer yet, but you will. Soon. The weight of Wells's words lingers in the air long after he's left the Silver Star. You sit at the bar, absently swirling your drink, the sharp tang of whiskey doing little to dull the sharp edge of the unease gnawing at your gut. You've faced many threats in your time: rival brothel owners, jealous customers, the occasional lawman looking for an easy bribe, but none like this. Wells isn't just another businessman, he's playing a different game, and if you're not careful, you might end up on the losing side. Your fingers tighten around the glass, the ice inside clinking softly. You need to think, to plan. Wells made his move, and you need to respond strategically. But what does he really want? Money? Control? Or is this something more personal? The problem is, you know too well that men like him rarely play fair. If you don't act quickly, he'll turn the tables on you. You've seen it before, heard the stories. A woman in charge doesn't get the luxury of waiting for the storm to pass. She has to weather it head on, with strength, intelligence, and sometimes ruthlessness. You stand up abruptly, the movement pulling you out of the haze of contemplation. No more second guessing, no more hesitation. You've built this empire from the ground up. You'll be damned if you let someone like Wells take it from you. You move swiftly through the saloon, making your way upstairs to your office. The girls are busy below, chatting and working. But you don't have time for pleasantries right now. The world of the Silver Star demands your full attention, and you can't afford distractions. You shut the door behind you with a firm click, cutting off the noise and the chaos of the bustling saloon. For the first time today, there's a moment of quiet. You sit at your desk and pull open a drawer, retrieving the small stack of letters and documents that you've been meaning to go through. Most of it is business-related, the usual correspondence with suppliers, customers, and occasional legal matters. But tucked beneath the pile is a letter you've been avoiding for a while. It's from the sheriff. Your fingers hesitate before you open it, the familiar paper feeling heavier than it should. You know what it says before you even read it. The town is changing. People are getting restless. And the law, well, the law is never on your side for long. Not in places like this. You unfold the letter and scan its contents. The sheriff has warned you before about the danger that comes with running a business like yours, but this one feels different. There's a note of urgency in his words, a hint of fear that wasn't there before. The town is shifting, and with that shift comes a wave of moral outrage, one that threatens to swallow everything you've worked for. It's clear that Wells isn't just a personal threat anymore. He's a symptom of something bigger, something that could tear apart the fragile fabric of your world. You set the letter down slowly, your mind already racing. What do you do now? The door creaks open, and you glance up to see Lucy standing in the doorway, her eyes sharp and alert. She's the only one who's been with you long enough to understand the weight of every decision you make, and it shows in the way she watches you now. No words are needed. She knows something's wrong. Wells left, you say flatly, leaning back in your chair, but he won't be the last. N. Lucy steps inside and closes the door behind her, the quiet clicking of the lock signaling that this conversation is meant to stay between you two. What did he want? Control. You reply without hesitation. Money. All the usual things. But there's something else. He wants to tie me to something bigger, to pull me into his world, and I won't let him. Not now. Not ever. Lucy nods, taking a seat across from you. She knows you well enough to understand that when you make up your mind, there's no changing it. But she also knows the consequences of such decisions. Have you thought about what happens next? She asks carefully, her voice steady but full of concern. You lean forward, folding your arms on the desk, tapping your fingers against the wood. I don't have the luxury of waiting, Lucy. Wells has already made his move. We need to get ahead of him. And fast. You're not thinking of going to war with him, are you? Lucy asks, raising an eyebrow. There's no fear in her voice, but a warning. You've fought enough battles for both of you. I'm thinking of making him believe I'm not afraid. You reply, your tone colder than it should be. Let him think he's got the upper hand. But the truth is, Wells doesn't know who he's dealing with. Lucy leans back, her expression contemplative. I know you're not one to back down, but Wells is dangerous. You can't let him get too close. He'll find a way to manipulate this place from the inside. I'm not letting that happen, you say firmly, feeling the weight of the decision settle into your bones. I need to make a show of strength. Show the town that no one can just walk in here and take control. We've been running this place by our rules for too long, for someone to think they can change it with a few promises. Lucy doesn't say anything for a moment, then sighs softly. I know, just be careful. He'll want something from you. And if you give him even the smallest amount, he'll use it to twist you into something you don't want to be. You nod, feeling the weight of her words sink in. I know, you reply, but I don't have a choice anymore. He's already testing me, and I'll be damned if I let him win. There's a long silence between you two, as you both process the weight of what lies ahead. It's a dangerous game, and you're not sure how it will play out. But you know one thing for certain. You can't let Wells win. You've fought too hard, for too long, to lose it all now. You stand up abruptly, the decision made. We'll need to act fast. Start tightening up the girls' schedules. Keep them close. No more stragglers out late at night. We'll send a message to Wells without even having to say a word. Lucy stands as well, nodding. Understood. I'll start getting the girls in line. Friends, you walk to the window and peer out. The town spread out before you, peaceful in the morning light. But beneath that calm, you know the storm is coming. The question isn't whether it will hit, it's how long you can weather it before everything changes. You should get some rest while you can, Lucy suggests quietly. Things are only going to get harder from here. You don't respond right away, your eyes still fixed on the horizon. It feels like the town is holding its breath, waiting for something. And you know that whatever happens next, it will change everything. After a long moment, you finally speak. I'll rest when it's over. You turn and walk to the door, your hand steady on the handle. The Silver Star has been your home, your refuge for years. But you know the storm is coming, and this time, you're going to have to fight harder than ever to keep it. The atmosphere inside the Silver Star is thick with tension. It's an odd sort of quiet, the kind that settles over a place just before a storm breaks. You can feel it in the way the girls move, in the nervous glances exchanged behind the bar, the occasional whispered conversation. Everyone knows something is coming, though no one has the courage to speak it aloud. You stand in the corner of the saloon, watching your girls with a practiced eye, noting how their interactions have shifted. The usual camaraderie is laced with something heavier, something unspoken. Some of the girls keep to themselves, while others work a little too hard at being busy. It's not unusual for the women who work under you to keep their emotions guarded, but today it feels like something's been cracked open. Even Lucy, who usually carries herself with quiet authority, looks on edge. There's no escaping it. You know what needs to be done. The storm is brewing, and you can't wait for it to hit. The only thing you can do now is prepare. You move purposefully across the room, your boots clicking against the wooden floor in time with your thoughts. You don't need to ask where everyone is. You've learned to read the ebb and flow of the saloon like a seasoned ship captain feels the roll of the tide. Your eyes meet Lucy's for a moment as you approach her at the bar. "I need you to tighten up the schedule," you say quietly, your voice low enough that no one else can overhear. "No more late nights. Everyone stays within these walls after sundown. Got it?" Lucy doesn't even hesitate. She simply nods, her face hardening with the resolve that's been a hallmark of her character for years. "I'll get on it right away. The girls need to be sharp, especially with the new crowd coming through." "Exactly," you reply, pausing for a beat before you add, "We've got to make sure we're untouchable. Wells is going to start making his move soon, and I want everyone ready." End of quote. Her lips curl into a small, tight smile, one that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "We'll be ready. You know I've got your back." You give her a brief, appreciative nod. There's no one else you'd trust more. Lucy's been with you longer than most of the girls, and she knows the business inside and out. You'd always thought of her as a partner in this, though she's never asked for a share of the profits, preferring to work in the shadows and manage the girls. But you know better than anyone that in a world like this, loyalty is the only currency that matters. "You're sure we're prepared for whatever comes?" you ask, a slight edge to your voice. You don't need to explain what you mean. There's no room for misinterpretation. The threats hanging over your head are tangible, and you can't afford to be caught off guard. "I've already made arrangements," Lucy says, her voice steady. "I'll handle the girls. You just focus on Wells." You exhale, a breath you didn't realize you were holding. This is it, the moment of reckoning. "All right. Make sure you keep an eye on the newcomers, especially the ones who seem a little too eager. We don't need any trouble." With one last glance at Lucy, you turn and head toward the back of the saloon. It's time to prepare for the inevitable. You move quickly up the narrow stairs, your footsteps echoing in the quiet space. As you reach your office, you close the door behind you and lock it just in case. There's no one who'll bother you here, but it's always wise to be cautious. The room is dimly lit, the soft flicker of a nearby lantern casting shadows on the walls. You step over to the desk, your hand moving instinctively to the leather-bound ledger that's been your constant companion. You've kept this business running on your own terms for so long, and you're not about to let it slip away now. You spend the next hour reviewing the books, checking your finances, making sure the money is where it's supposed to be. Everything has to be in order, especially now. You've always been meticulous about your accounts, but lately, there's a sense of urgency that wasn't there before. Every penny counts, and every decision is critical. The financial stability of the Silver Star is your shield, your insurance against anyone who might want to take what you've built. You glance at the clock on the wall. It's getting late, and the first customers will start arriving soon. You're almost done with your calculations when a soft knock at the door interrupts your thoughts. "Come in," you call out, your voice steady. The door opens, and in walks Sadi, her posture stiff, her eyes downcast. There's something about her that's different today, a look in her eyes that you don't quite like. You've seen this before, the girl who's been pushed to the edge and is looking for a way out. You're not sure what Sadi's thinking, but you know it's only a matter of time before she makes a decision. You set the ledger aside and fold your hands on the desk, watching her carefully. "Sadi, what's on your mind?" She hesitates for a moment before speaking, her voice almost too soft to hear. I'm thinking of leaving." The words hit you like a slap, though you don't show it. You lean back in your chair, studying her for a long moment. Sadi's not the kind of girl to run without a reason. She's always been one of your more reliable workers, and you know there's something more to her sudden shift in attitude. "Leaving?" you ask, your voice measured. "You know what happens to women who leave this life. Where would you go?" What would you do? Sadi raises her eyes to meet yours, her gaze steely now. I don't know, but I can't keep doing this. I don't want to be here anymore. I've seen enough. Her words hit home in a way that you weren't prepared for. You know what it feels like to want to leave this world behind. You've had those same thoughts yourself more times than you care to count. But you also know that there's no easy way out. Not in this business. Sadi's young, but she's no fool. She knows the risks. And yet, here she is, standing in front of you, making the decision to leave it all behind. You keep your expression neutral, though your heart sinks a little. You know I can't let you leave like this, Sadie. You're not just one of the girls here. You're part of the Silver Star. If you leave, you'll be leaving everything behind. You'll be walking away from the only life that'll ever accept you. Her jaw tightens, but she doesn't back down. I've thought about it. I don't need this place. I can make my own way. You study her for a long moment, weighing your options. Sadi's not a girl who would make such a decision lightly. She's scared, that much is clear. But there's something more going on here. Something you can't quite put your finger on. Could Wells have had a hand in this? Could he have been working his influence on her, feeding her doubts? I won't stop you, you say finally, though the words taste bitter on your tongue. But understand this, Sadie. The world outside these walls isn't kind to women like us. You'll never escape your past. No matter how far you go, it will follow you. Sadi nods slowly, her face hardening with determination. I'm ready for that. You sigh, leaning back in your chair. Then go. But know this, you're always welcome back here if you change your mind. Without a word, she turns and walks out of the room, leaving you alone with your thoughts. You've lost her, at least for now, but you can't help but wonder. Is this the beginning of something bigger? Are more of your girls going to start questioning their place here just like Sadi? The door clicks shut behind her, and you sit there in silence for a moment, staring at the empty space she's left behind. It's hard to let go of people, especially the ones who were once loyal. But in a business like this, loyalty is a fragile thing. It can slip away in an instant, and once it's gone, there's no way to get it back. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself for the challenges ahead. Wells is just the beginning. If you're going to survive what's coming, you need to stay focused. You can't afford to lose any more ground. The storm is coming, and you're ready to face it head on. The Silver Star is quieter tonight than you've become used to. After the news of Sadi's departure, the mood in the saloon has shifted, like the stillness that descends before a storm. The regulars have trickled in, the usual mixture of weary miners, cowboys, and the occasional businessman. But the noise is subdued. No laughter rings out from the tables. No music plays above the conversations. You can feel the undercurrent of unease, the unspoken tension that has taken root in every corner of the room. You sit at your usual place behind the bar, the weight of your thoughts pressing down on you like a heavy, suffocating cloak. Wells, Sadi's departure, the sheriff's warning. Everything is colliding into a perfect storm, and you can almost hear the thunder rumbling in the distance. Lucy's busying herself behind the counter, moving with the same practiced efficiency she's always had. The girls, though, are more unsettled than you've ever seen them. Some of them are stealing furtive glances in your direction. Others are too focused on their drinks or the men they're serving to even meet your gaze. You know they can feel it too. Something's off tonight. The door creaks open, and in steps a man you don't recognize immediately. His boots are worn, but well kept. His hat sits low over his brow, casting a shadow over his face. He scans the room quickly, his eyes sharp and calculating. You've seen enough men like him to know he's not here just for a drink. There's something in his posture, the way he moves, that signals trouble. Your instincts flare immediately, and you feel the familiar stirrings of caution. You straighten, your hand moving instinctively to the worn pistol tucked at your side. It's a precaution you've long carried, one you rarely need but never let go of. In your line of work, trust is a luxury, and you've learned to rely on your own sharp senses when it comes to protecting your interests. The man's eyes sweep across the room again before they land on you. There's a slight tilt of his head, almost as though he's sizing you up. A moment of silent recognition passes between you two, though you can't quite place him. You've seen a lot of faces in this town, but this one is unfamiliar, and yet something about him feels like a harbinger. The man takes a few slow steps toward the bar, never breaking eye contact. When he reaches the counter, he taps it once with his fingers, an action so deliberate it catches your attention. You give him a small, neutral smile, the kind that doesn't quite reach your eyes. "What can I get you?" you ask, keeping your voice even, calm. His lips curl into a small smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. "Whiskey, straight, and a word with you." The request is simple enough, but there's something about the way he says it that sets your teeth on edge. You signal to Lucy, who immediately begins pouring the whiskey, her movements swift and precise, but you can see the flicker of concern in her eyes. You slide the glass over to him, and he takes it without hesitation, his fingers brushing lightly against yours. You don't flinch, but your mind races. You've been in enough situations to know that men like him don't make small talk. Whatever he wants, it's not to discuss the weather. He takes a sip of the whiskey, his eyes still locked on yours. For a moment, neither of you speaks. The room is filled with the ambient noise of clinking glasses and muffled voices, but it feels as though the world has narrowed to the two of you. Then, he leans in slightly, his voice low, so only you can hear. "I'm looking for someone." Your eyes narrow slightly. You've heard that line before, and it's never been good news. "Who?" "Someone you might know. A man named Wells." At the mention of Wells' name, the tension in your chest tightens. You had expected this. The news was bound to spread eventually, but to hear it from a stranger, here, now, fills you with a cold unease. "What's he to you?" you ask, keeping your tone measured, even though your pulse has quickened. The man takes another sip of his drink before setting the glass down on the counter with a soft clink. "That's not really the question, is it? What matters is what he wants, and what he's willing to do to get it." You study him carefully, your eyes narrowing as you assess the threat. This man might be playing coy, but you can see the weight of whatever message he's carrying. "What do you mean by that?" "Let's just say that Wells isn't one to let go of what he wants easily." "You're the owner of the Silver Star, aren't you?" he asks, though it's clear he already knows the answer. You nod, not trusting your voice to say more. "Wells has an interest in your little business, and I'm here to make sure you understand that interest." And you keep your face neutral, but internally your mind is racing. Wells. You knew this was coming, but you didn't think it would hit this soon. You knew Wells had connections enough to make a move like this, but you never imagined he'd send someone like this man. Someone who doesn't just talk, he exudes power. And in your world, power can break you if you're not careful. "Wells isn't someone I'm interested in doing business with," you say, finally finding your voice. The words come out firmer than you feel. "And if he's sending men like you to deliver messages, it tells me everything I need to know about his intentions." The man leans back slightly, a small, knowing smile on his lips. "That's a shame. It really is. But I'm afraid you don't have much of a choice. You see, Wells doesn't believe in negotiation. He believes in acquisition, and he's prepared to take what he wants, by any means necessary. Um, your mind flashes back to the earlier conversation with Lucy. He's testing you, pushing you to see how much you'll bend before you break. I'm not afraid of him, you reply, keeping your voice steady, though you can feel the knot in your stomach tightening. If he wants something from me, he'll have to come and take it himself. The man's eyes glitter with something darker now. You should be. Wells isn't someone who waits for things to come to him, and he never leaves anything unfinished. If you're smart, you'll listen to what I'm telling you. You don't flinch, though every instinct inside you is screaming to act. This is no longer just about money or power. This is about survival. You've spent years building the Silver Star, crafting it into something that stands apart from the chaos of this town, and you won't let anyone, least of all Wells, take that from you. I'll take my chances, you say coolly, standing up and straightening your back. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have other matters to attend to. The man stands as well, his movements slow and deliberate. I wouldn't be so sure of that. You might not have as much time as you think. You watch him walk away, his back straight, his demeanor calm and collected. You want to let your mind rest, to believe that he's just a bluff, but deep down, you know better. Wells has made his move, and the real game is about to begin. As you watch the man leave the saloon, you feel the weight of the decision you must make. It's no longer just about protecting your business. It's about keeping everyone under your roof safe, ensuring that the empire you've built doesn't fall to the hands of a man who's proven himself more dangerous than you could have imagined. The storm has finally arrived, and there's no turning back now. The night stretches on, and the quiet tension in the saloon becomes unbearable. The man who came in with the warning about Wells is gone, but his words hang in the air like a thick fog. You've dealt with threats before, but this one feels different. Wells isn't just another businessman with a few too many connections. He's a predator, and the Silver Star, whether you like it or not, is his next target. You've been down this road before, though not quite like this. The women who work under you, they've all been in dangerous situations at one point or another. But this time, the danger feels closer, more personal. You feel it in the way the customers tonight aren't as rowdy as usual, the way the girls move with a cautious grace, each of them sensing that something is wrong, but too afraid to voice it. Even Lucy, who's always been your rock, is distracted. She moves behind the bar, working with mechanical precision, but you can see the tightness in her shoulders, the subtle tension in her movements. The door to the saloon opens again, and your eyes flick to it instinctively. A man steps inside, tall and broad-shouldered, his presence commanding in a way that sets the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. He's no stranger, though you don't know him well enough to name him. There's something about him that seems out of place in this saloon, like he doesn't belong here. His eyes scan the room, and when they meet yours, there's a brief flicker of recognition. You feel a chill run down your spine, though you don't let it show. "Catherine," he says, his voice low and steady, "I believe we have business to discuss." You rise from your seat slowly, meeting his gaze with a cool, controlled expression. You know what this is. It's not a coincidence. This man, whoever he is part of Wells' network. And now he's here to collect, to see where your allegiances lie. You can't afford to make a misstep. Not now. "Business?" you ask, a slow smile tugging at the corners of your lips. "I'm afraid I don't recall any arrangements being made." He steps forward, his movements deliberate, and you notice the way his hand rests near the weapon at his side. He's not here to talk, and that much is clear. This is a power play. "I'm here on behalf of Wells," he says, his words clipped and sharp. He wants you to understand the nature of his interest in your establishment and how things work around here. And your heart beats a little faster, but you don't let it show. You're a madam. You've seen men like him come and go, each one thinking they could intimidate you into submission. It doesn't work that way. Not with you. Not anymore. I'm well aware of how things work around here, you reply smoothly, keeping your voice calm and even. But I'm afraid you've mistaken me for someone who takes orders. He laughs, the sound harsh and mirthless. Oh, I know exactly who you are, Catherine. That's why I'm here. You think you've built something strong, something untouchable. But I'm telling you now that strength is nothing next to the power Wells holds. You'll either bend or break. You feel the weight of his words settle over you, like a dark cloud ready to burst. But you won't let him see that he's rattled you. You hold your ground, meeting his gaze head on. I'll decide when and where I bend, you say, the words leaving your mouth with surprising confidence. And if Wells thinks I'm just going to roll over, he's in for a surprise. For a long moment, the man doesn't speak, and you don't break eye contact. The tension between you both is palpable, a thick electric charge hanging in the air. But you know this isn't just about you. It's about everything you've built, the girls who depend on you, the life you've created in this rough, unforgiving town. And you won't let anyone tear it down without a fight. The man's expression hardens, and he leans in slightly, as if he's about to say something more. But just then, the door to the saloon swings open again, and another man steps inside, followed by two others. They're not the type you usually see. These are rough-looking men, dressed in the kind of worn, dusty clothing that screams trouble. They move toward the bar without a glance in your direction, but you can feel the shift in the room. There's no mistaking it. These men are here for one reason: to put you in your place. The first man, the one who spoke earlier, doesn't take his eyes off you. Looks like Wells is sending a message, he says quietly, almost conversationally. And this time, it's not just about business, it's personal. You swallow your pride, forcing yourself to stay calm. You'll have to tell Wells that I'm not interested in his kind of business, you reply, each word sharp and purposeful. The man laughs again, but this time it's edged with something darker, something threatening. You'll change your mind, they always do. As the tension in the room mounts, you feel the eyes of everyone in the saloon on you. Some of the girls glance nervously toward you. Others look to the men who've entered. The customers are quieter now, sensing the shift in the air. It's not like the usual banter-filled nights when the alcohol flows freely and the music lifts everyone's spirits. Tonight is different. The quiet unease ripples through the entire room. You know what's coming, and you know that no matter what, you're going to have to make a choice. Let's get one thing clear, you say, your voice steady and unyielding. I'm the one who decides who walks in and who walks out of this place. And as long as I'm standing, that's not going to change. For a moment, there's no response. Then the man who's been talking to you nods, a slow, mocking gesture that almost makes you want to strike him. We'll see how long that lasts, he says, his words filled with venom. Wells doesn't take kindly to being defied. The tension is palpable, but it's also fleeting. This confrontation, though intense, is just the beginning. Wells won't stop here. He's testing you, seeing how much he can push before you break. But you've been through worse. You've faced down men with knives, men with guns, and men with far worse intentions. And you've always come out on top. This time will be no different. The man turns on his heel, motioning for his companions to follow. Enjoy your night, Catherine. It may be your last. You watch them leave, your body tense, your mind already working through the next steps. You don't have much time. The storm is only just beginning, and you can feel it in your bones. You need to prepare, and you need to act quickly. As the men disappear into the night, the saloon begins to breathe again. The conversations pick up, the sounds of the piano float back into the air, and the hum of the night seems to return. But you know better. This isn't over, not by a long shot. You glance at Lucy, who's been watching you from across the room. She nods once, a silent agreement passing between you. You'll need her more than ever now. The quiet hum of the night is shattered by the ringing of the front bell as the door swings open again. The real storm is coming, and this time you won't back down. The quiet of the Silver Star feels like a distant memory. The moments after the men who spoke for Wells left were charged with an electric stillness, as though the whole saloon had taken a collective breath. Your mind races, analyzing every word spoken, every movement made. You replay the conversation over and over in your head, looking for the signs, the warnings you might have missed. But no, you heard them all clearly. They want the Silver Star. They want you. Wells has laid his claim, and now it's a matter of time before he moves to take what he believes is his. A glance toward the door reminds you that there's no time to waste. You can feel the clock ticking. The clock that runs out of time with every passing moment, with every second you spend pretending this is just another blip in the life of the Silver Star. It's not. You've survived this long by understanding exactly how high the stakes are in this town, and you won't let Wells or anyone else tear it all down. You don't sit still for long. As the tension in the room begins to settle back into normality, you glance at Lucy. Her face is unreadable, but you know her better than anyone. She's worried too. The air between you both is thick with the need to act, and there's no turning back. The saloon is almost full now, the usual crowd filling the tables with murmurs of quiet conversation and the sound of glasses clinking. The girls, though, move with the same caution they did earlier. Every step they take, every laugh they force, feels like it's been tainted by the threat that looms just beyond the saloon's walls. They've all noticed. You've seen it in their eyes, the fear, the uncertainty. They've trusted you with their safety, with their livelihoods. You won't let them down. You pull Lucy aside as she moves to check on the bar. "Lucy, we need to talk," you murmur, just loud enough for her to hear. She nods and follows you toward the back, her expression more serious than you've ever seen it. She's always been the one to steady your nerves, but tonight, there's no comforting words, only silence and understanding. "What's next?" she asks, her voice low and clipped. You take a deep breath, trying to steady yourself. You've been in tight spots before, but this feels different. Wells is dangerous, and now you're in his sights. "We make our move first," you reply firmly. "I won't wait for Wells to decide when and how we fight. I'm going to prepare." "Prepare?" Lucy's eyes narrow, and she steps closer. "What are you thinking?" "I need to speak with the girls. We're going to need backup, someone to watch over them, someone to make sure no one gets caught in the crossfire. I don't know how far Wells will go, but I won't leave it to chance." She nods, her lips tightening in that familiar way. "I'll get the word out. We'll make sure everyone's ready, just in case." Your eyes flick to the front of the room. You see a familiar face, Thomas, leaning casually against the bar. But you know him better than that. He's not just lounging, he's waiting, watching. His eyes scan the room like a hawk, his hand resting near the gun hidden beneath his jacket. You turn back to Lucy. "And we need to be smart. We can't show our hand just yet." "Understood," she replies. "We'll keep it tight. No one else can know." You're about to say something else when a loud crash rings through the room. Everyone turns, startled, their eyes darting to the sound of the commotion coming from the stairs. You're on your feet instantly, adrenaline surging through your veins. Two of the girls come tumbling down the stairs, clearly in a physical altercation. One of them, Rose, looks furious, her face flushed with anger, while the other, Mary, is trying to pull her off, shouting in a voice that cuts through the murmur of the saloon. "What the hell is going on?" you demand, making your way toward the chaos with a swift, purposeful stride. The girls stop as soon as they see you. Rose is holding her cheek, the anger in her eyes quickly morphing into something much darker. Mary, meanwhile, stands with her hands up, clearly trying to calm the situation. "She started it," Rose spits, glaring at Mary as though she were the enemy. "She's been spreading rumors about me, about my work." Mary takes a step back, her eyes wide with disbelief. "That's a lie, Rose. You're the one who—" You don't give her a chance to finish. You move between them, your presence commanding, and immediately the saloon falls into silence. You lock eyes with both of them. "There's no time for this. Not now." "Enough," you say, your voice cutting through the air. "I'm not interested in your petty squabbles. We have bigger problems than this. If you two can't get along, one of you will have to go." Both girls freeze at your words, the finality in your tone making them look at each other, then back at you. It's the unspoken rule in your establishment: discipline comes first. Always. But there's no time for that now. This is more than just a fight over a dress or a customer. Get yourselves together. We've got bigger fish to fry. The room is silent for a long beat, the tension palpable, until Lucy steps forward. "Let's sort this out in the back, girls. Catherine's right. We need to focus." They both nod, walking off reluctantly, though not without casting heated glares at one another. The saloon slowly returns to its rhythm, but you know that whatever this is, it's just a symptom of something bigger. The pressure's building, and not just from Wells. The girls are on edge, and it's starting to show in ways you can't ignore. Lucy watches them go, then looks back at you. "We'll have to get a handle on this soon. It's only going to get worse." You nod, feeling the weight of it all pressing down on you. "First Wells, now this. We need to act before it all unravels." Lucy steps closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You sure you want to take him on? Wells isn't someone you can push around, no matter how hard you try." You meet her gaze, unwavering. "I didn't build this place by backing down, and I'm not about to start now." She gives a slow, approving nod. "Just remember, we're in this together." The moment is broken by the sound of the front door opening again. The familiar face of Thomas appears in the doorway, and his eyes scan the room, landing on you. "Catherine, we've got trouble," he says, his voice low and urgent. You feel the pit of your stomach tighten. "What now?" Thomas steps forward, his face grim. "A few men came by. They've been asking questions about you, about the Silver Star. They're not from around here, and they look like trouble. You know what that means. More of Wells's people. They're coming to collect, to see if you're going to bend. And you're not this time." You take a deep breath, your mind racing. "Get the girls ready. No one goes upstairs unless I say so." Thomas nods and moves off quickly. Lucy turns to you, a mix of determination and concern on her face. "You're really going to do this?" she asks, almost as if she can't believe the words are leaving her mouth. You don't hesitate. "We don't have a choice. Wells is making his move. We need to be ready to make ours." As the days stretch on, the routine persists, unchanged and unforgiving. The city of London continues to turn, indifferent to the lives of the poor, the workers who toil endlessly to survive. You wake each morning with the same aches, the same hunger gnawing at your insides. Yet now, there's something different. something you hadn't allowed yourself to feel for years. Hope. It's a fragile thing, hope, like a spark that flickers in the dark, barely visible, threatening to disappear with the slightest wind. But it's there, and it changes things. It makes the unbearable weight of survival a little lighter. It's not enough to end the hunger, not enough to erase the pain, but it's a promise that something might be different. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. And for the first time, you allow yourself to believe that it could be true. You still eat the same meager meals, work the same grueling hours, and face the same exhausting struggle every day. But there's a shift. You move through each moment with a quiet knowledge that this life doesn't define you. You are not just a body moving through a world that doesn't care. You are a person who dreams, who hopes, who dares to believe that something more is possible. You may not know what that more is yet, but you feel it inside you, stirring like the faintest ember, waiting to be fanned into a fire. The flicker of hope doesn't come all at once. It's subtle, creeping in through the cracks of your weary existence. Some days it feels almost impossible to hold on to. The hunger gnaws at you. The exhaustion pulls you under, and the weight of survival presses in. But even on the hardest days, when your body feels as though it might give out, there's that quiet little voice inside you, the voice that tells you that it doesn't always have to be this way, that it hasn't been in vain, and that, somehow, things might change. Each day becomes a little more bearable, not because anything external has shifted, but because the internal shift is beginning. Your perspective changes. The hunger is still there, the same gnawing ache that never quite disappears, but you now see it not as an enemy but as a reminder of your resilience. Your body may be weak, your hands may be raw, but they are still working. You are still here. You are still moving. And in that simple fact, being here, still alive, still pushing forward, you realize that survival is not just about feeding the body. It's about feeding the soul, too. It's about refusing to let the world around you break you down completely. It's about holding on to that flicker of hope and carrying it with you, even when the world tries to take it away. You start to see the world a little differently. You notice the small things, the way the light catches the leaves on the trees when you pass the park on your way to work, the warmth of a stranger's smile when you least expect it, the small moments of kindness that seem so fleeting but are so powerful. They're reminders that life is not just about survival. It's about the connections, the moments, the things that make us human, that make life worth living. You see these fleeting joys for what they are, signs that there's more to this world than pain and struggle. Your mother, too, begins to change, though her changes are quieter. The years of sacrifice and struggle have etched their marks on her, and yet, you see something else in her eyes now. A spark, a glimmer. It's the same flicker of hope that you've begun to feel. A quiet recognition that maybe there's still room for dreams, that maybe there's still time to hope, to imagine a life beyond the walls of struggle that have confined her for so long. She doesn't speak of it, not directly, at least, but you see it in the way she holds herself a little straighter, in the way her steps are a little quicker. You wonder if, in her heart, she too has begun to entertain the idea that perhaps the future doesn't have to look like the past. But even with the subtle shifts, there is still the harshness of reality. The hunger still gnaws at you, the work still feels endless, and the burden of survival is as heavy as it ever was. But now, you no longer feel its weight in the same way. You are no longer a prisoner to it. Not entirely. The burden is still there, but there is space in between, space to breathe, space to dream. You understand now that there is a difference between surviving and living. And while survival is necessary, living, truly, Living is something that requires more than just the bare minimum. It requires a belief in something greater than the struggle itself. For the first time in years, you allow yourself to think about a future that isn't defined by hunger and exhaustion. The future isn't just a distant unknown anymore. It feels possible. It feels within reach, not a far-off dream, but something you can actively work toward. It's the idea that change, though slow and painful, is happening. You may not be able to see the full picture just yet, but you know it's coming. You've already taken the first step by believing in it. There will still be hard days ahead, days when the hunger is unbearable and the work is grueling. There will still be times when you want to collapse, when you feel as though you can't go on. But now you understand that those moments don't have to define you. The days don't have to be the same forever. The hunger doesn't have to be your only reality. You carry with you the quiet strength that comes from knowing deep down that change is possible. And so you continue. You wake each morning, step into the cold streets, and do the work that's required of you. You still eat the same meager meals, but now you eat them not out of necessity alone, but out of the belief that each small act of survival brings you closer to the life you've imagined. The work, the hunger, the exhaustion, they are all a part of this path, a path that you now walk with purpose. One day, the hunger will be a thing of the past. One day, you will look back on this life and see how far you've come. You will remember the moments of darkness, the years of struggle, but you will also see the flicker of hope that carried you through. You will see that it was that spark, that tiny ember, that changed everything. That's what life is: survival and living, hope and struggle. Moments of light in a world that often feels consumed by darkness. For now, though, you continue. You keep moving, keep surviving, keep believing, one step at a time, until that glimmer of hope turns into the reality you've always longed for. The future is unwritten, but you know that, no matter what, you will write it.